Hi guys, if you couldn't tell by today's video's title, today we have to talk about the World Arena infographic and kind of the implications and thoughts of this specific developer note as opposed to others. And before we get into it, I apologize. I don't know how, even through all the resting and medication I've been taking, I'm still a little sick, so I apologize. But without further ado, let's get into it. First and foremost, if you aren't familiar with what today's post is about, it's about the arena infographic that epicseven has begun recording and making at the end of every arena season. Now, as you can see here on screen right now, there are a couple picks here that you're likely already familiar with, and these are the top 20 pre-bans across all stages. There are other categories to talk about here, but as you're seeing on screen right now, Harsetti, New Moon Luna, Empyrean Ilanov, alongside a feature from Afternoon Soak Flan is also present. Now the thing is that normally there's always going to be a character at the top that's very powerful, and if it isn't Luna, well, it's going to be a character like Harsetti. Now the reason why I want to talk about this specifically is because it feels as though despite them introducing new answers or mechanics such as young Senya and other characters to try and deal with Harsetti, one thing has remained prevalent, which is the fact that Harsetti doesn't appear to be going away. Now, if you're talking about something like Arena and people using Senya to deal with Harsetti, people have actually begun using Senya to answer Senya in addition or additionally, which has still kind of marked the presence or the popularity of Harsetti in all sorts of modes. Now, I'm not even going to talk about specifically whether or not Harsetti has an answer or whether or not she's a problem, but I'd rather focus on who, excuse me, who's been remarkably present and remarkably powerful throughout all of RTA and a World Arena specifically because that's the infographic that we have. Now, even if we take a look at the pre-bans for early stages, there are still a lot of characters that get similar ban rates, and this, from what I understand, is in the like within like a certain duration time wise, and that's what early refers to. And as you're seeing on screen right now, we have characters like New Moon Luna and still Harsetti, even before people have really spent a load of time trying to figure out and pre-ban or trying to solve how good or how bad she is, being at the top of the list. Now, we also have pre-bans from mid-stage, and she's only rose or risen in popularity here, with her being extremely prevalent in 65% of pre-bans. And finally, with late stage, her total presence apexing and increasing to a 70%. Now, the main reason why this is concerning is because regardless if you think that Harsetti is interesting, powerful, whatever you think that she is, her high presence should in theory indicate one of a few potential outcomes or conclusions, which is that either she is very powerful, she is very annoying to deal with, or she's very annoying to play and integrate your team alongside. Now, I personally subscribe to the theory that it's all three, which is that in the hands of someone powerful, she's very annoying to deal with. If you aren't super attuned, or if your team isn't perfectly tuned towards your own Harsetti, she's annoying to play. And beyond anything else, I do think that all of these kind of characters, or kind of all these characteristics put together, make her one of the most frustrating characters to be in epicseven at this time, specifically because of how drastically different the game looks with her existing in the game at the moment. Now, there are plenty of characters in the game that have been introduced as well, including characters like New Moon Luna, characters like Sea Phantom Politis, or even characters like Zeo that have warped the way that the game has looked, but none have quite changed your setup of characters so drastically, with a couple of characters now being best in slot if you have two of them and have two different builds. And excuse me. And from a free to play point of view, this does not bode well. And especially if you're someone that's playing casually, this also does not help your case. This instead actually feels kind of annoying and kind of hinders the experience in general. Now, if it were just this, and if this were the first season, fine. We saw how Harsetti felt for one season, and it's not that big a deal. However, what's really kind of hollow feeling or kind of empty feeling is that in past seasons, and even based on the overall thoughts that they've described here, which we'll go over here in a moment, the implication here is that when a character becomes too powerful or when things get a little bit too wild, specifically in the PvP or the matchmaking end of things, characters are going to be adjusted. New characters are going to be introduced to combat them, or within a short period of time, there'll be an answer or a solution, or at least transparency from the I guess production or development end of things towards the players, so that you aren't left thinking that epicseven doesn't consider Harsetti to be a problem, or that epicseven is continuing to tune the characters or tune ways for Harsetti or other characters that are problematic in the game to be dealt with in the future. But if you take a look at and if you read the overall thoughts, which I'm going to do just plain and simple here right now because it's honestly baffling, listen to what epicseven has to say. This pursuit season marked the second season featuring the ban protection system, which is already a very contested and controversial topic, but it also reads that it saw the rise of a new meta centered around the new boss hero Harsetti. Despite the season being shortened by 1 week, the total number of matches held in the champion and above season increased by 8% compared to the previous season. This is, of course, because of all the new year or the anniversary effects, which is cool, but all right. They read that we salute the efforts of all heirs who lit up the battlefield with more intense competition than ever. Now, what it continues to say is that looking back on the Pursuit season, the influence of characters like Hero or of Sea Phantom Politis and Knockwall remained strong, but showed a decline compared to the previous season. Makes sense because of the introduction of new characters, new playstyles, including Harsetti, New Moon Luna, etc., and Empyrean Ilanov. This also said it introduced, or it was likely because of, again, said characters Harsetti and Ilanov at the start of the season, with Harsetti playing a central role in shaping the season's meta by countering high-speed units while enabling strategic use of range of heroes. Through just the first kind of segment here that we're reading in the overall thoughts paragraph, you can already see that they themselves are aware of the power of Harsetti and Ilanov. Now, the main concern here is that despite them being aware of the fact that characters like Harsetti and Ilanov can be very powerful and do need answers, there hasn't been any changes during the preseason, any changes from what we can tell towards the future as it stands right now, dealing with Harsetti that would suggest that, hey, we've heard your feedback and your thoughts, and despite us understanding and being aware of the fact that Harsetti is a problem, we are not going to introduce any immediate changes to maybe disable the character, to drastically stunt her power, or even, I guess, make drastic changes to the preseason system that would suggest that we want to kind of shake things up and we understand how powerful and how warping Harsetti has been to the game. And instead, we are going to just sit on our hands, not change ban protection, not change any of the powerful arena picks in general, and we're going to just wait for the next upcoming season to see or to playtest and gather more feedback. Now, if this sounds like an extreme cop-out, we are not working on anything and we are holding whatever we're planning on working on as, I don't want to say holding it hostage, but we're holding whatever thoughts or improvements or transparency that we could have with you towards fixing the way that epicseven and Arena feels in general. If you wanted any of that from this post, you've got none of it, because as far as we can tell right now, it says the upcoming season will mark the first season of 2025, titled the 2025 spring season, and we are working on various improvements to address inconveniences experienced during World Arena matches and preparing systems to ensure a smoother World Arena experience for all heirs. We kindly ask for your continued interest in epicseven in the new year, and we wish you the best of luck in World Arena. That was it. In terms of everything that was noticed, we do have one additional statement that I passed over, and you may be interested to hear about, and that's this line right here, which is, therefore, we will retain the ban protection system for the next season, despite all the controversy. No affecting, no effect or changes to it, by the way. And however, we'll continue to gather feedback through various channels and closely monitor its in-game impact. We strive to ensure that heirs have an even more enjoyable experience with epicseven. That's it. We will continue to gather more experiences or gather more feedback via, whatever they consider these channels. Presumably that means through, I don't know, their discontinued surveys, maybe their Discord server, or God forbid they even look at the stove forums. But through whatever means, we are working on it, and for however long up until the next season, there will be no adjustments to the current state of RTA and World Arena, period. Now, if you are someone that mostly focuses on playing Arena, Guild War, or some other system, maybe this doesn't feel that big a deal to you. However, if you even take a look at the World Arena or the normal Arena system and the way that the Arena looks currently, you've probably noticed that 99.9% of all team compositions involve some sort of composition still with Harsetti, but usually having a character like Young Senya or maybe even the new Hua-Young, who I do think does still have a place, and is supposed to deal with light units. But if it's not one of these certain compositions, there's a very good chance that you're not at the point in Arena where, well, honestly, the game has affected you enough to a point where you can see the very glaring and bright red issues standing out. Now, I apologize because I've definitely made posts about this involving or talking about Harsetti, but given that she is showing a ridiculous 70% presence in the game right now, especially from World Arena, I'm sure you could tell why it might be a little bit frustrating to have to boot open World Arena, and no matter what, you have to see this character that forces you to have several different sort of units built of the same kind, and it only caters towards players that are building multiple compositions or multiple teams with the same units in order to be successful. But this will be the last time I talk about it, because honestly, I'm sick and tired of complaining about someone like Harsetti, and though other seasons or though other systems may be more exciting, I am kind of interested in whatever epicseven ends up introducing in the future. I'm kind of interested in new kid Aiden, although I'm not very happy with the fact that you have to pull for a new Moonlight 4-star. That should, in theory, be like free, considering it's Aiden. Despite all the other things that I may or may not be excited for, this will be the last time I talk about Harsetti, and I apologize again for the long-winded rant, but I think it just has to be said that despite a development team or a company that is supposed to be aware of the changes or aware of the discontent or the discomfort of a character or a playstyle or a system, them taking more than a season, 2 seasons, in order for them to really even act upon any of the complaints feels out of touch, disappointing, and honestly, a bit betraying, to be honest. In any case, though, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks again for watching. If you'd like to leave your thoughts on the system, feel free to do so down below. Again, this will be the last time I talk about it. The next time I cover epicseven, it'll probably be involving like a system that's newly introduced, hopefully, or a new character, or showcase something along those lines. Thanks again for watching, though. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. If you did, make sure to check out the rest of my socials and like, comment, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy. Good night.